Hello and welcome back to my channel, and today I'm responding to a challenge from one of my subscribers, Steve for Films, who runs a brilliant film site where he does clips of his favourite films and favourite actors. Now, he responded to a quiz that's going around called the About You Movie Quiz, right? There's 24 questions which sort of define where you are as a film fan, so I thought I'd go through them and answer them. So, number one, what's your favourite movie of all time? I can never decide between Late Spring by Ozu and Audette by Carl Dreyer. Those are the two films that most move me and that I think are the most beautifully made films of all time. Number two, best script. Now, this one got me a bit because I have to make a confession here. I don't really think about scripts. I know that's a terrible thing to say, script writing is such an important part of movies, great dialogue, great characterization, story structure, and so on. But I don't really think about it very often. I'm much more focused on directors and actors. So I struggled with this one a bit. I suppose I just went back to what everyone else says, really. Chinatown. It's such a great script, and that's the first one I thought of. Sorry, it's a bit of a boring answer, but there you go. Number three, favourite poster. Well, there I go back to the posters I had on my wall as a student at university. I had Once Upon a Time in the West, and I had Blade Runner. I like some of those posters that Kubrick had, like the Clockwork Orange poster. I like that very much. I'm not that knowledgeable about film poster art, so I'll leave it there. Number four, I'll watch it someday. I like this. I've always got movies that I should watch someday. I realised the other day I still haven't watched The Best Years of Our Lives by William Wyler, which many people say is one of the best American films of the 1940s and is an American classic. I've never seen it. I really should watch it, actually. Number five, big personal impact. Loads of movies have made a bigger personal impact on me. The biggest in terms of making me think about film and getting me into cinema was Blade Runner, actually, when I was about 13, 14 years of age. But there's tons of movies that have had a big personal impact on me. But that's the one I'll pick because that's the one that really started me thinking about film and what cinema is about and how it's made. Number six, best long movie. Now, there's two real candidates here, I think. One is Satan Tango by Béla Tarr, 7-hour Hungarian masterpiece, the most miserable film you'll ever see. And the other one is Out One, which is 13 hours long by Jacques Rivette. That's the one I'm going to pick because I remember seeing that movie at the National Film Theatre in London. And I saw it over 2 days and I took a little packed lunch, in a little box. And at the end of each episode, it was presented in sort of like 6 or 8 episodes. Everyone got up and started talking to each other, so it was a real event. So that's my choice, is Out One by Jacques Rivette. Seventh, you like but everyone hates. Well, I love the film Valhalla Rising, Nicholas Winding Refn, which is an incredibly slow dirge of a Viking movie starring Mads Mikkelsen. I remember a friend of mine, he came to visit me and he got a bit ill and he said, Mike, let's put on a movie. And we put on that movie and he's never forgiven me ever since. I love it. And I like Nicholas Winding Refn. I like The Neon Demon, which a lot of people dismissed. And Bronson with Tom Hardy. So that's what I will choose. Number 8, you hate but everyone loves. Well, immediately I think of Bande à Part by Godard. I'd rather whiz on an electric fence than watch that again. I can't stand it. Everyone goes, oh, but what about that amazing scene, Mike, where they run through the Louvre? Oh, it's so fun, isn't it? No, it's not. I'm with the Louvre guard. I'd chase them out. Anyway, 9, underrated. I've done a video on my most underrated films. I picked my most underrated film as The Missouri Breaks, Arthur Penn starring Marlon Brando and Jack Nicholson, which I think is quite brilliant. I'd add to that Dana La Métisse, an early film by Jean Gremillon from the 30s, which is like Jean Gremillon does Carl Dreyer, a really sort of strange, baroque, surreal story of this magician on this ocean liner who takes revenge for someone assaulting his wife. Incredible film, very strange. And overrated, well, everyone knows how much overrated I think that Godard is. So yeah, anything by Godard. 8.5 by Fellini. Yeah, Throne of Blood by Kurosawa. I'll leave it there. Why do I like this? I like Nacho Libre with Jack Black as the Mexican wrestler, which is a huge confession, but I find that film very funny. I also, I did a video recently about Carry On movies. I actually like Carry On movies, but you know what? My brother watched that video, and so he forced the family to sit through Carry On Up the Khyber, which is my favourite, at Christmas, and no one laughed, and I was just sitting there sweating and embarrassed. I'm still scarred by that experience now. So why do I like it? I don't know. I just like Carry On Up the Khyber. It makes me giggle. Great soundtrack. Well, Blade Runner was my favourite soundtrack. Anything with Ennio Morricone, Once Upon a Time in the West, Quemada, which he made with Gillo Pontecorvo. I think David Lynch's two soundtracks for Lost Highway and Mulholland Drive, the combination of music by Badalamenti and found tracks, I think is incredible. Those would be among my favourite soundtracks. Cinematography, sorry, I've named it about 3 times already, but Once Upon a Time in the West. The cinematography in that film is just so beautiful. The camera work is so beautiful. Just amazing. Stunning. 14th, Bad Day Cure. I've gone on about this before on this channel. I love the 2 Sinbad movies. In the 70s, Ray Harryhausen, Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger, The Golden Voyage of Sinbad. They're my bad day cures. If I'm having a tough day and it's raining outside, they'll cheer me up. Now, the 15th question is favourite protagonist. This one stumped me a bit. Again, I don't really think about characters, I mean, my favourite protagonist in any moving image is, of course, Doctor Who. But in film, I don't know, really. Do you know what? The first thought I had was the Doctor, played by Roger Livesey in Michael Powell's A Matter of Life and Death. I'd like to be him. He rides around on a motorbike through the country lanes. He has a camera obscura upstairs in his bedroom. And he can defend people in heaven against the whole weight of humanity. Yeah, he'll be my favourite protagonist. 16th, favourite trilogy or movie? Well, trilogies, I think of, the 3 great films by Leone, the Once Upon a Time trilogy, Once Upon a Time in the West, Once Upon a Time in the Revolution or Fistful of Dynamite, Once Upon a Time in America. I think of Jacques Tourneur's 3 wonderful films that he made with Val Lewton, Cat People, I Walked with a Zombie and The Leopard Man. I think those would probably be my favourites, actually. Next, what have we got next? So, 17th, biggest letdown. You know what? I'm going to be very honest here. The biggest letdown I ever had going to a cinema was A History of Violence by David Cronenberg. I had looked forward to that movie because it was a combination of Cronenberg and my favourite 2000 AD writer, John Wagner, who used to write the Judge Dredd strips. So I was really looking forward to it. So much so that a week before, when I was watching a movie at the cinema, I actually ran out of the cinema when the trailer came up so it didn't spoil it for me. I must have looked like a real idiot. So when I actually saw the film, I didn't like it very much. And I still, to this day, think it's one of Cronenberg's least enjoyable films. I actually think it's a good film. I admire it in many ways. I just don't like it very much. And it's still the biggest disappointment. The other one that really resonates for me is Tim Burton's Batman. I don't know why I was looking forward to that. I've never been particularly interested in Marvel Comics, but it came out when I was about 17, and everyone was saying it was going to be brilliant, and I thought it was shit. I thought it was the most boring piece of crap I'd ever seen, and it put me off Tim Burton for life. Biggest surprise. This is quite a tricky one, actually, but I think the biggest surprise for me was when I first sat down and watched a Miyazaki film, a Studio Ghibli film, and I never really liked animated films, Disney films before, and I only watched it because I felt I ought to give it a try, and the film was Princess Mononoke, and I thought it was incredible, and it gave me a lifelong love after that of Miyazaki's films. I think that was the biggest surprise. Not the best, but having fun. There's loads of movies like that. I like The Last of Sheila, directed by Herbert Ross, which is a 1970s whodunit with a wonderful cast. It's got James Coburn, Raquel Welch, James Mason. It's not the greatest movie, but I just love watching it. And I love watching Death on the Nile with Peter Ustinov as Poirot. I also really like a 1960s film by Sidney Lumet, starring James Mason, a very early version of the Smiley character from Tinker Tailor. and it's called The Deadly Affair. That's a great movie. 20. Criminally overlooked. I've already mentioned lots of movies that I think are criminally overlooked. I'm going to mention a recent film that's criminally overlooked to help out a current filmmaker, an Irish filmmaker called Pat Collins, and a film he's made called That They May Face the Rising Sun, which on paper sounds like it's a sort of Sunday afternoon movie, you know, a sort of sentimental movie. It's about two people, two artists, who move to the Irish countryside. And it's about the people they meet there and the community they get involved in. And they're wondering whether they should move back to London or stay in Ireland. That's it. I think it's a very beautiful film. Very moving, very humane film. I'd highly recommend it. Depressing movie. Well, I've already mentioned Satan Tango by Bela Tarr. That's pretty depressing. Cries and Whispers by Ingmar Bergman. That's pretty depressing. I just think, you know, when it comes to depressing, you should really pick a British movie. You know, something like Diane by Alan Clark, which is brilliant, but God, it's depressing. Favourite active director? Hong Sang-soo. He's the greatest, isn't he? I know you agree with me. 23rd, favourite animated movie. I'm going to go to that man Miyazaki again. I think my favourite Miyazaki is Howl's Moving Castle, but I could easily pick Nausicaa or Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke. They're all great. And finally, not usually my thing, but you know what? Recently, I watched Singing in the Rain. I hadn't seen it since I was a kid when I watched it with my dad. He was big into musicals. And actually, I really enjoyed it, and I could see why people loved it. Musicals are not my thing, they never will be, but I thought that was a great film. And also, there's a certain type of French cinephilia that I don't really get on with, and you can sum it up in two words: Leos Carax. I don't know if you've ever come across him, but his film that he made in the early 2010s, Holy Motors, is brilliant. It's very visionary and weird and oniric. I like that word. So if you've never seen it and you don't think it's usually your thing, check it out. Holy Motors is a great film. So there you go, Steve. I hope those answers are satisfactory. I probably could have come up with better answers, but those are the ones that first come to mind. So that is the About You movie quiz. I'd love to see your answers below. Thanks very much.